And then let me just pull in this quick little, it's not it, main screen. Excellent. Overlay. Cool. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go on screen as usual for a quick cold open, and that'll be in just about a minute. And then I will hand it over to you, Mohammed. I'll say, basically I'll say, hey, everybody, today we're debating whether or not Islam is true, and we're starting right now. And I'll say, with Mohammed's opening statement, thanks so much for being with us, Mohammed. The floor is all yours. And then once I hand it over to you, you are welcome to do your opening, and then we'll, be off to the races. Let's do a quick sound test just to be sure everybody's on the same level. If you could do a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for me, Thomas.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you. And then same, Mohammed, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Cool. Should work. And we'll 2 seconds. Oh yeah, let me start streaming. We'll see that that's good and smooth. And then once we do, let me just double check really quick my audio level, or my run a speed test. And I'm excited. What counts as an Instagram model? Like if you just post pictures of oneself on
It's Instagram model is just like a shorthand for the most physically attractive women in the world. So it's what I have a very specific type physically, and if they're not my type, I'm not attracted to them, and it's of the most attractive women type.
Like Muhammad, but in female form.
Thanks, baby.
I'm going to start streaming, and let's see. And then I'll just double check that everything's going smooth. Where did I just put that? It's going to be amazing. Two seconds, almost there. Cool. Thanks for your patience. Here I go. In 3, 2, 1. I'm going to hand it right over to you, Mohammed. Here I go. Hey, everybody. Tonight we're debating whether or not Islam is true, and we are starting right now with Mohammed's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Mohammed. The floor is all yours.
Thanks, James, for having me on. And hello, Tom. Hope everything is well for both of you. So to kick it off, I just want to start with my opening statement. The land and the skies are built in truth. Truth is what we classify as facts or reality. Exposing benzene to a spark will ignite the chemical, is as true as patience and persistence overcomes. That is the truth that we cannot deny because it has been proven. The laws have been set, and it is not us who is setting those laws, nor can we change them. We are subject to these laws that are unbreakable. Generally, as humans, we are born with basic emotions, certain senses, and without the perception or acknowledgement of any knowledge. We look for sources that are outside of ourselves to guide us on what we are and what is our purpose. In some families, a parent might set rules on their household, and their children are subjugated to these laws. The parents would be in control. Later, that child might grow up and is then a subject of social structure and its applicable law. If they are employed, they are also expected to adhere to the laws that have been placed by their employer. The laws in any system provide control, and the entity that sets such laws is the control. Bigger social systems have bigger opportunity if the subordinate is complicit and active. As we grow within our own selves and our own lives, our source of guidance is expanded or sometimes changed. Some reach to a point where they try to define why universal laws have been set, and many willingly accept these laws and adhere to them as they unravel them. To many, the entity that sets these unbreakable laws is God. But God is more than just an entity that sets laws. And one's own definition of what God is measures on how close a person is towards the truth. One might recognize that adhering to the laws that have been set on them, while shedding the irrelevant, gives them a sense of understanding, purpose, and belonging. Adhering to these laws and accepting that the entity that designed and programmed this system that we're in is what submission to God is, or in Arabic, Islam. Essentially, believing in the highest power gives you the understanding on how to deal with events and forces that occur around you which are outside your control. Both me and you know death is coming. One of us is running away from it, while the other is running towards it. The state of submission gives you a total peace and safety, just like how a toddler feels under the supervision of their father under a healthy household. A human, despite tribulations and unknowns, a person who trusts in the unbreakable, truthful, incorruptible system feels safe and secure. Submission, or Islam in Arabic again, guides you on how to understand ethics, morality, how to build relationships, and how to succeed in what you sought out to do. Submission teaches you on how to act under hardships and tribulations. You not accepting in the highest power who is maintaining, recording, and administrating this world, you cannot explain to me in a coherent fashion on what my purpose is. Yet submission, or in Arabic, Islam, gives me a clear purpose. This is backed by simple observation that anyone can agree to. God created everything to work. You cannot deny that there is a world around you. You do accept that as a human, you get positive emotions and feelings when things are peaceful, clean, and are functional. As a human, you have this superiority after God on earth. As a creature, we are favored over all other creatures that are present in this world. We have the authority to domesticate and improve the life of animals, which science proves that they also have emotions and undergo hardship. We have the tools and ability to survive and thrive as a species while keeping the earth clean and in check. Our duty is towards the world that we are in and not to ourselves. When a person in history comes along with a genuine and honest outlook that they are here to make the world better, they outlive their own lives and they live a meaningful life. That is why many years after the fact, we still hear about Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, and other individuals that found peace in working and serving God. And as I said, serving God would be to represent the authority that we clearly have on earth in a fair, just, and humane fashion. To feed who needs to be fed, to care for who needs care, to fix what needs to be fixed, and to unite rather than divide. It is clear that us as humans, we tend to put the needs of others at a lower priority, and we value our own self-existence, and we fall into serving our bodily desires. Regardless if you believe in God or not, we all do preach that self-control is something that is must for a civilized society. The laws and guidelines that are in the Torah, the Gospel, and the recital, or in Arabic, the Quran, help you achieve said self-control. Adhering to the advice and guidance that is in said books grants you a meaningful life with a promise that's built on trust as you learn how to navigate through life's challenges. History never wrote about a flourishing and righteous civilization getting wiped out. It was always the oppressive, arrogant, self-entitled societies that thought they were unbeatable who lost the war of survivability. Similarly to what we see America going through in modern times. America began by a split from a corrupt and deceitful European church to establish a new system. The earliest record of the motto, "In God We Trust," was in 1748. And with that aspiration of being an honest, fair, and welcoming nation, God favored America until they became the superpower of the world. As we all know, with power comes responsibility. And just like how the Pharaoh turned into an oppressive nation, America has done the same. And America, along with many nations in the world, are looking at a similar fate or end that Pharaoh found. This is outlined in Islam. It's something that's observable time and time again, just like a science. Oppression does not guarantee survivability, while honesty does. Submission gives you the guidance required to outlive and survive this world, with a promise of a better world here and after death. Tom.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening statement, Muhammad. And want to let you know, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral channel hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. We hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you are from. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, as we have a big, juicy debate coming up this Friday here on Modern Day Debate with apostate prophet and Muslim apologist on whether or not Islam is harmful to the world. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And with that, Tom, thanks so much for being with us as well. The floor is all yours for your opening statement, too.
Well, I heard absolutely no evidence in what he said whatsoever. I mean, he gave some feelings and some assertions that he thinks religion is required for things that it's not required for. And he thinks that honesty somehow makes it more likely you're going to survive, which isn't the case. So, I mean, nothing he said was actually evidence Islam is true. There is no evidence Islam is true. Naturalism best explains all of the evidence, all of the arguments, best explains morality, best explains beauty, best explains literally everything, because at least has a basis in reality. So I've not really much else to go on. Naturalism better explains literally everything, is the only thing that makes novel testable predictions, the only thing that makes progress in humanity, is the only thing that makes the world better. I'll conclude there.
With that, we're going to jump into open conversation. Folks, if you happen to have a question, feel free to fire it into the old live chat here on YouTube at Modern Day Debate. If you at me, that's one way to submit a question, as well as super chat, in which case we bump it to the top of the list. And with that, thank you very much, Tom and Muhammad. The floor is all yours for open dialogue.
So in a sense of evidence, if someone is more honest, then, I mean, someone who's honest to himself and to his feelings and what he witnesses and tells people, does that person usually go further in society than someone who's a liar and known to be a liar?
No. What does it have to do with evidence?
The evidence is other people's lives. How's that not evident to you?
What do you think the word evidence means?
Evidence is proof.
No, it's literally not. What do you think?
Explain to me evidence.
Evidence is something that makes it more probable a proposition is true or false. Proof is something that is deductive, means it has a certainty that it's true or false. Those are two separate things. Proof is like mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2. That's a proof. Evidence is like, it's more likely that swans are white than black because there's more white swans than black swans. So inductively, any given swan is more likely to be white.
Okay, but I'm talking as a human being. So now tell me, where's the proof in science? How does science explain that something that's as genetically close to me as a monkey or a mouse? Is that correct to assume that our DNA and our genes are close to a monkey and a mouse? Is that correct?
Yes, because we can see patterns in the DNA that only exist in very specific phylogenetic trees, and so we know how related we are in the same way we know that you're related to your parents, because we can see that there are specific genetic mutations that your parents have, that you have, that your cousins and nephews don't, that your distant relatives don't. And so like endogenous retroviruses are a good example of this. Endogenous retroviruses are a virus that inserts its DNA into a reproductive cell, and so all of the offspring of that reproductive cell, when it grows up, will all have this endogenous retrovirus at exactly this location in a 3 billion long DNA chain. And so if we can find these things that are in one specific spot, either it's the case that this one random virus randomly injected itself into the exact same position and only that position for all of these offspring for each of the species, and there are hundreds of these, or they have related through reproduction, which we know we can see when the cell divides, it copies the same genes. And so an endogenous retrovirus inserting its DNA into one location, then being copied, makes a lot more sense than it randomly injecting itself into the exact same location hundreds of thousands of times across species with hundreds of thousands of different genetic codes.
Tom, my question again, are we genetically close to a mouse and a monkey? Like, are we genetically cousins? Like, what's the difference in our DNA and our gene makeup from a percentage point of view?
Like, what depends on which factor in DNA you're using to compare. We're closer than trees. We're more related to monkeys than we are to mice, and we're more related to mice than we are to trees.
Okay, but looking at what I saw online, that our DNA makeup is closer to mice than we are to monkeys. So my question to you
No.
is that why don't that? Okay, well, I can.
I
pull up
don't
the
know
research
what
for
your
you.
bad research is, but I don't really care. Like, how does this
Okay,
relate to evidence of a god?
so my question to you is why does do we have that spark of intelligence that other creatures that have the same gene pool as us? How come they're not building and communicating the same way we do? How come they just go off impulses and we don't?
Would they have the same intelligence we do, just to a lesser degree? So
No,
our
I
brains
understand that,
developed more gray
but
area. What does this have? I'm still need evidence. You said this is evidence that Islam is
I'm telling you,
true. You provided
yeah,
none of it.
no, Islam is true in the sense. Well, I guess you're not understanding the fact what Islam is. Submission. So, okay, quick question, and again, is a
What does the word
very
true mean?
true is valid. So the way you
No,
act when someone submits
true
to
is
the
not
truth,
valid. What does
true
valid
doesn't
mean?
mean valid.
No, true does not mean valid.
Positive means
Yes.
one, means yes, it means
No,
positive.
it does not mean any of those things. So valid means that the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises. So if P then Q, Q therefore P, or P then Q, P therefore Q, one of those is valid, one of those is a
Let's
determining consequent fallacy. Valid is just the conclusion follows from the premises. True is about soundness. Soundness is, are the premises true? Has nothing to do with validity, completely irrelevant from validity.
Okay, so when we're saying what is truth, what is true is something that is sound, correct? Something that is sound. So if someone who's practicing patience, someone who keeps calm, and someone who has the ability to understand what's going on in front of them, deduce it, and say what needs to be said, while also is maintaining his persona without falling into traps of emotions, like he doesn't let his anger take over him, and he can hold himself when things are not sounding the way he likes. Those are all what Islam teaches. This is all what's being preached in the religion, is on how to handle yourself, is how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and Harry Potter teaches you how to do spells, but what does that have to do with truth? Like, what does the word true mean?
The truth
Yes.
is something that's evident in front of you, as you said.
There are things that are evident that are false. That's not what truth means.
Truth
Truth is that which corresponds to reality.
Truth is okay. So something that's evident, that's something in reality, so we can see it.
No, there are things that are true that are not evidence. Things that are evident are things that we can indicate with evidence.
Tom, is it a fact that someone who is patient can outlast somebody who isn't, because then anger takes over? Is that correct or wrong? Is that fact?
And that is correct. And it's also true that someone who's anger can last longer than someone who's calm.
Okay, but I'm talking as a human being. Okay,
yes,
I'm talking as just human being not in nature stuck with a bunch of animals. I'm talking in a civilized community. Someone who is patient and honest goes further in said community. Is that
have you never
statement?
seen Donald Trump? Like, I live in America. This is not hard. No, honesty does not get you further in life than lying. In fact,
that person didn't get far. But that person didn't get far in life. That person
president
got far.
of the United States. That's pretty far. Billionaire president with a supermodel wife. Yeah, that's pretty far. I don't know.
See, you're listing material things, but he's not being someone who's mentioned as a role model for people. He's someone who's
what?
Well,
literally half of America is literally saying exactly that.
Tom, Tom, question: who's a role model to you?
Nobody.
Why?
Because I don't try to gauge my life based off of other people's lives.
So nobody can make a life better than what you made as a life, is what you say.
What? No, there's lots of people who have better lives than I have. What is that?
So, but for you, you don't have a sense of leadership, because there is no need for you to have a leader, because you know it all.
No, literally none of that is anything I said.
What? Okay, then what are you saying? You're saying you don't need someone to mentor you or to be in a leadership position for you, because you don't look up to anybody.
What? No, I didn't say any of that. I said I don't have a role model.
Okay, but why would someone have a role model? What's the purpose of a role model?
Emotional support, guidance, teaching, lots of reasons. There are lots of different independent reasons to have a role model. Someone you look up to.
Because they know it better than me. Whatever it is.
Not necessarily, but
okay.
It's not.
But just saying
people
no doesn't mean...
like Stephen Hawking knows physics better than me, but I don't consider him a role model.
Okay, well, but because that's just in physics, but I'm talking to you about your day-to-day life. You making the decision. You riding your car. You're not testing your
How does
octane
this
level in your no,
evidence
the
Islam
evidence.
true? Evidence.
Islam is teaching you a certain way of life in
So is
thinking.
Harry Potter. That doesn't mean it's
No, it isn't.
true.
Brother, when you're insulting me, and you're shaking your head and you're cutting me off and you're just saying no, that's things that are outlined in the book about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I gave you an example, and you showed for me another valid reason why the Quran is right. Because I asked you, is there anyone that you would
Wow.
put on top of you as a role model? And you just said no,
Right?
because you think you know it all.
No, those are not the same thing. Like, I don't understand why Muslims make these very large, reaching statements that have literally nothing to do with one another, as if they mean
Well,
the same thing. Like,
what
not
is your way
having a
of
role
life
model
then?
means I don't look up to people because I am autistic. I have high functioning autism. So I don't look up to people because I don't have an emotional connection to other human beings in the same way other people do. And so I don't have role models in the same reason I don't like feel the same way about
So,
my parents as normal people. It has nothing to do
so you
with
do admit, you
what?
do admit, because of your disease, you are unable to understand how social interactions work, that you cannot build relations.
No, no, I can. It's just different. So that's
I
also
understand
completely
it's
irrelevant.
different.
So
Well,
can you like
it
can you
is
go back? Can
relevant.
you go back to like Islam is true
Islam is true.
because
Islam is true
evidence.
because it teaches me how to be patient. It teaches me how to act with people that are going outside of the norm. It teaches me how to forgive, even though I'm like, if you hurt me, I have the right to hurt you back. That's just fair. But to forgive you is better. Those are teachings that are in Islam. Islam is teaching me to be
How
honest.
does go back? Why does the fact that it teaches you things make it true? Harry Potter teaches you things. Does that make it true?
But I can't sit here and learn the magic spells and see them done in front of me. But I can learn from the Quran. I can learn from the Quran that if
You can learn moral values from any book. That's literally one of the
correct, yeah,
facets
yeah,
of books.
and that's natural
Why does
life.
that make it true?
Because I'll give you an example. So like in Islam, right, in submission to God, homosexuality is something that's frowned upon because that's not something that we consider natural. But if a homosexual couple adopts a child who is an orphan, they get the benefit of taking care of an orphan child because that orphan child is looking at a very rough life. Islam teaches us to take care of the orphans. So what I'm
Okay,
trying to
that's
explain to
not
you,
so. So the question was: is Islam teaches you things, and so
but
my
hold
question
on,
was: is why does the fact to teach you things indicate it's true? How do you get
because
from
it's giving you the
it
complete
teach?
package. It's
What?
complete. Like you as a human, you're testing every day. Like if I start lying to these certain people about how I'm feeling, I'm going to get a response from these people. Like there's a like, okay,
Why does it being the complete package indicate it's true?
because then your life improves. Well, a lot of people buy
Okay, why does
self-help.
people life improving indicate it's true?
Brother, that's how it works. Like I don't know what you're looking for your life.
That's an appeal to consequence fallacy. Literally saying
No,
your
that's not an
life will
appeal to
improve if
consequence,
you
Valley.
do. That's literally exactly what it is. It's saying
Okay, but
here is the consequence. Your life improves. Therefore, this proposition is true. If you follow this proposition, your life will improve. Therefore, the proposition is true is a appeal to consequence fallacy. The fact that
again,
something will
it's
make your life improve doesn't make it true.
but okay,
Like
again to the point,
I
but
could
it's
believe
not
that I
one
have
thing. It's not one
what
thing.
when
It's about the morals that comes with it, and they all based on facts and truth.
literally
The
has
way
nothing to do with anything I've just said. So what I said was saying that because it has some good consequence doesn't make it true. For example, I could believe that I'm going to die and go to heaven and be flooded with Instagram models and money, and that makes me super happy and live my life in a much more confident and fulfilling way. And so it made my life better, even though it's completely false. The fact that something could make you live better doesn't make it true. That's why science isn't like, well, you know what? You'll live better if you believe that you're rich. Science doesn't
so
care what you believe. It's completely irrelevant. There are no beliefs that matter to science. What we care about is the
but here's the
evidence.
thing. Science cannot explain everything. Science is
Okay,
not evidence to everything. So
that doesn't matter.
some stuff, no, it does matter. So for there's some
Why
stuff.
do you think that matters? Like,
Well, let me explain it to you before you cut me off. You see? So what I'm trying to say is there's some facts and realities that come out of things that are not proved by science. Science cannot prove feelings. Science cannot give you evidence
yeah,
on
yes,
why
it
there's
can.
feelings. No, it does.
Science can
There's
prove
emotions.
feelings.
No, there's a science of emotions, but it does not prove
Emotions and
feelings.
feelings are synonyms.
No, they're not. Would you like to read the article that people say that? Like I can show you. I
Like
can
the
pull up the article.
dictionary?
Yeah,
Let's
go
go to the
ahead.
dictionary.
All right. So if it's
Emotions.
about synonyms, right?
Emotions. And then synonyms. Feelings. Feelings. Emotions.
I like
Love,
to
care, affection, fondness,
research.
tenderness,
It shows
warmth,
a lot of
warmness,
thought behind
emotion.
it.
Oh, look, it's the sixth one. Feeling, noun, synonyms, emotion.
Synonym doesn't mean it's an exact equal.
Oh my
Feelings are
God.
no. It doesn't work that way.
Synonym.
Synonyms, it means the
Synonym
exact same word, right?
definition. Synonym, a word or
Destruction
phrase that means exactly or nearly as
or
another word or
nearly
phrase.
or what? Or nearly.
Yes.
It's not
So
exact
a
all the
word
time.
or phrase that means exactly or nearly the same
Or
as another
nearly.
word.
So
So there's
feelings are
synonyms. Like I
nearly,
said, they're synonyms. They mean the same thing.
but you could study emotions, but it's very difficult to study feelings. So you can
No,
have the
what?
emotion of anger, but for
No,
you to recognize, you say, brother, there's
they're
no
the same
talking here
thing.
because you they're not the same thing.
What do you think the difference is?
I'm trying to explain it, but you keep cutting me off. I guess you need to find a little bit more peace in your life and let the person speak. Because people who disbelieve in a higher power and think they're the highest power and they're the only ones who judge what's right and wrong, their ears don't work. So
Well,
just
no. What
let
I
your
need is
ears
a
work.
valid argument. I need some
I
valid
will. I mean,
premises,
but
conclusion. Would be
your
great.
style of arguing, or debating is just cutting the person off and saying no. Let the person make a point before trying to jump a different point.
Well, no.
So
So
listen to me.
every sentence says like 4 things that are wrong. You don't know the definitions of like 90% of the words you're
Well,
using, and so I'm trying to like
you
tie
yourself
down.
cannot define things. So what I'm
What
trying to explain to you,
I
emotion.
just did.
Just
What?
keep
No,
the
no.
actual. What's the actual argument, Muhammad? Just to keep it on
Okay.
track.
Yes. Sorry, James. So emotions, you could be angry. You could get the emotion of anger. But for you to recognize you're angry, that's the feeling. That's the difference. So you could see. So emotion is a very adaptive form of psychological response, and it regulates our life. Emotion is expressed largely in the theater of the body through posture and facial expression, as well as through internal processes as heart rate and blood pressure. Moreover, all of these bodily responses are fed back to the brain through neural channels, as well as humoral channels, which bypass neural signaling. To understand how emotions work on the body, we must differentiate emotion from feeling. When we experience any of the primary emotions, sadness, happiness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust, our experiences express themselves physically
No,
in ways
I
that can
don't
be observed
care.
by another person. Feelings, by contrast, are our conscious perception of all these changes happening in our body and of the very subtle changes that are happening in our way of our cognitive functions. So what I'm trying to explain
So
is
I
that
just pulled up a neurology
Islam,
paper. In neurology, feelings and emotions are synonyms. Problem solved. So your paper's
which one is that?
wrong. In CBI. So like literally none of what you said matters to anything.
No, it does, because people undergo through feelings, which you go into your
How
feelings.
does any of that get
Islam
to
teaches you how to
evidence?
deal with those feelings. That's evidence
So
for
does Harry
people who are
Potter.
living.
Again, you
No,
just
it
keep
doesn't.
thinking it says words to get you to learn things, therefore it's true. Those sentences don't work. The fact that it says words for you to do things doesn't make it true. For
So,
example, you can have a manual that teaches you how to build a house and it says there's a flying spaghetti monster. The fact that it teaches you how to build a house doesn't mean the flying spaghetti monster exists. The fact that it teaches you how to do stuff does not mean it's true.
but this is back to my point. If the entity that is telling me on how to have a successful life and a ways to dealing with the tribulations that I'm going through, and it's no get outside of my own control, then the entity that told me said things is a lot more intelligent and wise than I am.
No,
Why
like
not at that point?
because again, you can say random things like gibberish, like Deepak Chopra levels of gibberish, and it makes people feel good, and people can interpret that in such a way that can lead them to take actions, and those actions may make their life better. But it doesn't mean the person who said the gibberish was smart. Like literally, the fact that there is a book that tells you to do stuff does not mean the book has any truth value towards the fundamental nature of reality. Like if I go to Home Depot and I get a guide on how to build a shed, and it teaches me how to build a shed, and the shed improves my life. The shed is just it helps me to protect my tools and keeps them from rusting, and I save money. It improves my life. Does that mean the author of the shed book is the most fundamental, smartest person in the world and smarter than me?
If it's just building a shed, no. But if it's building your whole life from the start to the finish,
That's the
then yes.
shed.
But that's just the shed. I'm talking about your life from A to Z, from the beginning to the end, for you to even how to deduce science that you keep referring to. But now I have a question to you. How does science tell you how do you live your day-to-day life? Do you, just quick question before you get in the car, do you check your octane level in your car just to make it the right efficiency? You know, like how do you live your life as a
No, the
as a
mechanic
person
does
who
that,
just
which is why it works. The mechanic checks all the
mechanic tests the octane in your fuel before you go driving?
Well, if you have octane in your fuel, like if you're using nitrous or something, he'll test that. Yes.
Oh, okay. So cars run
don't.
off nitrous just naturally. You know, like the way we
What?
fuel our cars
What?
is off nitrous.
Well, some of them, yeah. So like that's the booster stuff,
Oh, okay.
the red thing that makes it go faster.
So when you start your car, it's starting with nitrous right from the get-go, and you're driving the whole time with nitrous oxide, not as a boost.
No. No. Like why
So-
are you
so-
saying so many silly things?
Because I'm not saying silly things. I'm trying to make you get to your point, which I'm asking you very clearly.
Science tests
Why?
stuff and it verifies things are true through novel testable predictions.
Okay. So how many sugars do you like in coffee?
1.5 ounces per 5 cups.
Okay. So is that truth now? Is that reality?
No, it's an opinion. It has nothing to do with truth.
But that's your reality, correct?
No, it's my feelings. It has nothing to do with
That's your-
reality.
That's feelings and emotions are the same, correct? I'm going
Yes,
back to the
feelings and emotions are the same.
So why is it 2? What's the scientific evidence behind the fact that it's that you pick 2, not 3 or 0?
Because
why
one releases more dopamine than the other in my brain when I taste it.
Okay, so now if I'm looking at exploring the basics of emotional psychology and the science of emotions, and people writing about how there's a whole study on just the science of emotions, that science is supposed to tell me why you like 2 sugars in your coffee and not 3.
No, because the science is representative of the sensations. The sensations tell you what you like, and those sensations are caused by the neurological states, which can be then described through science. What does this have to do with the topic?
What happens with a human if he just goes off all their emotions? I get angry, I start yelling. I'm happy, I start laughing.
We literally do go off our emotions. That's literally, you can't do logic without emotions. If your emotional center of your brain is damaged, all of your logic and ability to do logic is gone too. Humans operate on emotions.
We can recognize our emotions, but we don't go off them. Like
yes, we do.
I can be frustrated and angry of you, but I'm not going off my emotion. I'm not yelling at you, and I'm not
because you have a different emotion. You have multiple emotions at the same time. Some of the emotions supersede other emotions, and those emotions cause different levels of electrical signals in neurons. And the ones that's the superseding electrical signal is the one that will determine your action. This is super basic stuff.
No, it's not super basic stuff because there's something that's called training. So someone who's just someone's habit of yelling when they're angry.
Can we go back? I want you to give me a valid argument. You used the word valid. That's a good word. Valid argument that indicates the existence or the truth of Islam. Give me a valid argument. Premise 1, premise 2, conclusion.
Why are you changing the topic of the debate when the topic of the debate is Islam true? So there is a reality.
I literally asked for an argument that has premises and a conclusion that says Islam is true. Please give me an argument with premises and a conclusion that shows Islam is true.
Islam is true is because it teaches you to live in a certain way.
Okay, so premises. Do you know how premises work? You can't just say Islam is true because premise. If P then Q, P therefore Q.
Okay, so if P equals Q, then what? Say it again.
If P then Q, P therefore Q.
If the way I live due to what I taught makes me a very good human being, then what taught me is true.
Okay, that's the appeal. That's not valid. That's literally not valid. That's invalid.
How is that not valid?
Because the conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. That's why.
Okay, now my question to you, how can we test this theory? And if you're saying that feelings and emotions, right? I'm getting back to the point there. If feelings and emotions are synonymous, and the way I'm living is giving me positive feelings, because the emotions and the feelings are
Your
a way
feelings
for
have
me.
nothing to do with truth. It doesn't matter what feelings you have. Literally irrelevant. All
The
human
emotions
feelings are
does.
completely irrelevant to truth.
No, you see, the
Like
feeling.
Alpha
This
Centauri
is my
is a
point.
galaxy.
This is my point.
What?
This is my point. Emotions is not something that you can control, but your feelings you can control, and you're
None
the
of
one
that
who's judging your
matters.
own feelings. Yeah, it
Literally,
does matter.
none of that
It
matters.
does
So
matter
if
because if I
all
put
human
myself,
feelings go away, all humans die, zero feelings left, zero emotions left, all humans are dead. There will
right,
still be true facts. Things will be true.
correct,
Alpha
correct, but
Centauri
part of
will
that truth,
exist. Black holes
part of
will
that truth,
exist. Truth
part
has
of
nothing to do with feelings or emotions. Literally, what affects your feelings and emotions is completely irrelevant to truth. If
so
Islam was true, it would have
if you
nothing
help
to
a
do with your feelings and emotions.
no, we're talking about truth. Yes, you're right. Those other topics are true standalone. But is it true that when you help somebody, you get emotions of happiness and like you feel as a
What
good
does
human
that?
being?
That's irrelevant to truth. It doesn't matter what you
Why?
feel
Why? No, again, it's about the
because it's an
emotions
appeal
that
to
you
emotion
receive.
fallacy. Literally, your emotions don't matter. No one cares.
It's not about no. The emotion is your reasoning on how you see the world around you. If things are making you happy, that's something that you're gonna go. You're talking about
Who
Instagram models.
cares? I don't
Why?
care
Because
how
that's
you
something
see
that
the
makes you.
world. I
But
want to know what's true.
that is the truth. That
How
is the
you
truth.
see
The
the
truth.
world is
The
not true.
yes, your subjective view of the world is the reason what's driving your own world.
Which has
So
nothing to do
everybody,
with truth. Literally
yes,
nothing.
it does.
It doesn't
It
matter
does.
what drives you. It doesn't matter what emotions you feel. It doesn't matter what's
Are
causing
you?
you to feel those emotions. What matters is what is
So you,
true, independent of all emotions. That's what truth means. Truth means corresponds to reality. Objective means independent of opinion, emotion, intuition, subjective thought. Objectively true means true, independent of all emotion. That's what we want. Truth, true, correspond to reality, independent of all emotion.
I'm saying as a human being, what a person does to judge the world around him is based upon what's going on with him. And to prove what's going on with him, that's when he turns to things like science and history to explain what happened to him. So there are certain situations that any human being put into, it would make them angry. Is that correct or not?
Sure. What does that have to do with truth?
The truth is that you get angry. The truth
What
is you
does that
get
have to do?
depressed. The
Me
truth,
getting angry doesn't indicate Islam is true.
do you accept the fact that you get angry? Do you accept the
Yes, that
fact
is a true fact.
okay, so Islam teaches you how to deal with that, but not just
So does
anger.
Harry Potter.
No, Harry
Saying
Potter does not.
Islam teaches does not matter. I don't know how to more thoroughly explain this to you. It literally doesn't matter what
You're
Islam
not. You're,
teaches. Something
well,
is
I don't.
true. If Islam taught nothing, it would still either be true or false.
So,
What
quick
it
question.
teaches is irrelevant.
So, what does it teach? What does Islam teach? Since you're so very versed with Islam, what does Islam teach?
So what I said was it does not matter what Islam teaches. It would be true even if it taught nothing, or it would be false even if it taught nothing. The fact that it teaches stuff doesn't make it more likely to be true or more likely to be false. It has literally zero value to whether or not Islam is true.
If something is teaching the truth has no value if it's teaching the truth by you because it doesn't matter what it teaches.
Oh my God. So true.
So,
The
so
word
if I
true
read the
means
book
corresponds to reality.
to reality,
Right.
right? So
So if the
the
book
reality is
didn't exist, Islam,
right.
like Muhammad, would still exist, wouldn't he? If there was no book, still exist.
Okay, well, perfect. So you went back to a different point. Islam is to submit to the fact that everything around you is the way it is because it is. Before you
Is
go
the way it
crazy,
is because it is. That is
it
genius.
is.
It is the most
Yes,
genius sentence I've ever heard
yes.
in my entire life.
Then
Genius sentence. It
let me
is the
explain
way it
my
is
let me
because it is.
it is. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? The reason gravity is we're not the ones deciding gravity. Gravity is something that we're unraveling ourselves because it's already set how it is. So the laws around you has been set. So Islam existed before Muhammad. The electron, that chair that you're sitting on,
Did it exist
your
before
eyeballs.
humans?
Yes, it did. It did
So
exist before
there was a
humans.
time where there were zero human emotions. No
Yes,
human emotion, and it was still true.
and Islam is still true because you know
Right.
why?
So the
I'll tell you.
emotions don't matter.
No,
They're not. They don't make it true. It doesn't. It's
look,
irrelevant.
look, it still makes Islam true. I'm saying how Islam applies to a human. Islam is accepting the fact that everyone succumbed to the programming that's around them. So an electron, when it's put under certain forces or put in certain circumstances, an electron does its part. It doesn't have a choice. If you put so an electron doesn't have a choice. So, and it's the same thing with a human. When a human is put under certain forces in certain situations, the human has to react what a human has to react. But we do have it. We have a difference between us and the electron. So if I'm walking by someone who's homeless and I get an idea, and this idea did not come from me, it's just not something that I controlled, because people get ideas all the time. If I get an idea that to feed that person, where'd that thought come from? Where did that thought imbued me to feed that person? Is that something that science can explain?
Yes.
What?
Comes from your
Go ahead,
neurology.
explain.
It comes from evolutionary psychology. It comes from the fact that helping others and altruism has a game theory advantage, and so you were evolved to have those kinds of
Cool.
altruistic desires. This is explained by science.
Praise to God. Then you're just making it better for me. So now that I get this thought of feeding this person, and this thought did not come from me, I have to submit to the fact that I got this thought and feed the person to make the world a better place.
Yes, and you got it from neurology, not from Quran.
I did get it from Quran. The Quran told me you're going to get thoughts.
Where is your evidence of that? So I have evidence that
would you like the verse?
gives you that. Well, I don't
I
care
can
about
tell you
the
the verse.
The verse isn't evidence. What
No.
I care about is the evidence.
The neurology isn't telling me what to do with the thought. The neurology is telling me how the thought is occurring.
That's what we were literally talking about. How did you get to the thought? What caused the thought?
I'm telling you why.
Neurology, not
I'm telling you why
Quran.
and what you're supposed to do. So I got the thought. You told me how I got the thought. I'm telling you what I did with the thought. That's what Islam is teaching.
I can make up a story and say what you should do with the thought is Alan Watts it. You should Alan Watts the thought and make it go poof and just go bye-bye.
How's make that guy's the homeless person's life better?
It doesn't.
I got the.
It's just making up a story. So I can make up a story to make you do stuff that doesn't make it true.
That's you making up.
Yes, that's what the Quran is. It's made up by humans who made stuff up.
It's not. Look, it's not about being made up or not. You're going to go into stories that you don't want to talk about, but let's talk about the basic facts of what Islam is. Look,
it's a made up story.
Okay, so Islam says that you were only ordered. There's 3 things that is ordered on a human being. Sorry, I'm going to say it in Arabic and then I'll translate.
Kill apostates, marry children.
Okay, can you just give me the time, please? وَمَا أُمْرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. So the only 3 things that a human is required to do is to serve God by making the world a better place and adhering to the things that make the world a better place for everybody. And then the second thing on the list is to pray. Prayer is just giving you the ability to think and connect the world as you see it in front of you to the closest you can to the truth. And the third thing that's ordered for a human is to give from what they have, to give charity. If you do all 3 things, then you essentially are helping the world. That's all it is. We're not making God's world better because God doesn't need us in a sense if you know how to define what God is. It's just for you, for your own sake. All Islam teaches you is to make the world a better place, is to think and pray about certain things in a positive fashion, and to give charity. That's literally what Islam is. What you'd like to argue about is the different curriculums that came down on earth. Because we say Jesus was a Muslim. We say Moses was a Muslim. We say Abraham was a Muslim. They all found peace in their life. And because they found said peace, they made curriculums. And just because people after them ruined and corrupted the curriculums and the social structures that they set up, the world was a better place when they were here. So again, Islam is teaching you something very basic: to take care of the world that's around you and the people that's around you, to think for yourself and to pray on it. And then the last thing is to give for what you got. So tell me how Islam is false.
Because literally that's an appeal to consequence fallacy. We in philosophy know this is a fallacy. We can prove deductively this is a fallacy. We can prove your argument does not work. The fact that it improves people's lives doesn't prove it's true.
It's not about improving people's lives. It's about having a proper social system. That is a proper social system.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's same appeal to consequence, different noun. Literally a fallacy, literally not evidence, literally irrelevant.
Well, isn't our purpose, even as the animals and everything around you, is to carry on and to survive? So don't we need a system to support us? I'm not talking about sciences, because sciences
That
cannot
doesn't make it
explain
true.
God.
This is called Alvin Plantinga's evolutionary argument against naturalism. Evolution can select for things which are not true. It selects for survivability and not truth, because those are two separate things. You can have
Okay.
it select for something that makes you survive longer and it not be
Okay.
true. For example,
Okay.
beauty. Beauty doesn't exist. There's no objective beauty. It's a thing that our brains have made up, but it's good for survival. It does good things. Your argument would be like, mirages are a thing that are a product of evolution. They help us survive. Therefore, it's true that there's actually an oasis
No.
over there.
No, because if you take someone who's beautiful and you put them anywhere in the world, the people will say that person is beautiful. But a mirage is something that's not
Beauty
reality.
standards are
That's not something.
subjective. It's subjective, not objective.
But
It is not the case.
subjectiveness,
We've literally done that. So we've literally
subjectiveness is reality. People all have subjective. Yes, that is
reality. Oh my God.
Yes. That's
Oh my
part of
God.
reality. For people to be subjective.
No, so one, we've done the experiment where we've taken someone who is considered beautiful in one culture, like Zimbabwe, and brought them to different cultures, and they don't think they're beautiful in different cultures. Cultural beauty is a thing that is subjective to cultures. It's not objective. You don't find someone beautiful and put them in any culture and find them beautiful. No, that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it's literally irrelevant. Everything you're saying, again, irrelevant. The fact that something benefits for survival does not make it true. Literally,
it's something that's explaining what's going on around me. It's not something that's making just the world better.
All
it's explaining
made up stories are explaining stuff. Zeus, Thor, Odin, all of the gods are made up stories to explain things we don't know. They're called making stuff up. Making stuff up isn't true because you've made stuff up. That's your argument. We made stuff up. Therefore, it's true because it's made up. Like, that's not a good argument. That's a terrible argument. Evidence, the way evidence works is, here is something about the future we can know by looking at some hypothesis. Science says, if this hypothesis is true, we'll see the asteroid cross every 500 years. Come back in 500 years, we see the asteroid cross. That's a novel, future testable prediction, which is confirmed through scientific experiment. That tells us what's true. That can differentiate imagination from reality. Your stories cannot differentiate imagination from reality. They just are imaginary. They're literally imaginary stories.
So let's pick a challenge that both me and you can't do, but let's just put this challenge out there. So there's a drought in California for the last 10 years. Is that correct?
Sure.
Or is that I'm also okay? So there's been a drought for California in the last 10 years. This drought that a lot of people that believe in God say that it was a causation of God and it's a part of his punishment. So yeah, you could laugh, but let me get to the point that I would like to make. So let's test this theory. By you going to Hollywood and telling people like, and remember Hollywood's in California, which is a fact, right? Good. So what I'm trying to say is like artists that like to sit there and call themselves rap gods, and people on the internet would like to call each other gods of gaming and gods of this, and it's just a big joke. They're calling each other gods. Wait, I'm getting to my point, right? That's exactly what the pharaohs. Okay, that's what the pharaohs did, and that's why the pharaohs got eliminated. So now my challenge to you is, if you would like to stop the drought in California, is maybe you could make an experiment to have the people in California stop calling themselves God, and let's see if the world gets better.
Well, that's perfectly fine as an experiment.
Okay, let's do it.
You could.
It's not going to work. That would prove Islam is true. But here's the thing. Here's what Islam also teaches you. That no matter what we say to you, you will not change.
Did the dinosaurs call themselves gods? Is that why they went extinct? Because they were just calling themselves gods and that caused the asteroid?
No, actually, the story of the dinosaurs is God, he created what's on Earth for us. It's to benefit us. So God put the dinosaurs, and look, hold on. You just laugh, man.
The T-Rex is there to benefit humans. That's the purpose of the T-Rex.
100%.
Benefit humans. T-Rex.
100%. Can I answer you, or are you just gonna laugh like an idiot?
Well, I'm definitely gonna laugh because what you're saying is stupid.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But so God, when he started the nuclear soup, and whatever variables that were put on that nuclear soup that evolved into dinosaurs, right? When God eliminated those dinosaurs and whatever green was around them, and then he restarted that evolution soup, but the variables were a little different. That monkeys came out. Later, those monkeys, a faction of them, became what we call as humans, and they had that spark of intelligence, they found the oils that came out of the dinosaurs and that
That was
foliage
not
around the
from the
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs.
For us to get to the moon,
Oil wasn't
for us
from the
to get to the moon.
dinosaurs, or oil was from small Cretaceous
What?
animals, pre-Cretaceous, like
Okay.
cellular sized things in oceans. It had nothing to do with the dinosaurs.
So oil was not. I mean, the dinosaurs did not add anything to do towards oil in any way, shape, or form, or natural
Pretty
gas.
much nothing. No, most of the oil comes from
Not
things
pretty much.
pre-dinosaurs.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. It's not pretty much. Did they
Yeah,
add? Or
it's
did
like
they not?
0.000000000000001%.
If that's what you think, it's still valid at that point because it's still 0.000 whatever 1%. Yes, it is. What I said still makes sense.
God.
But
Oh,
that's
my God.
one thing. That's one thing that I want to say is that dinosaurs helped in the process of giving us oil. And then the other thing, God is showing you that He can create creations, remove them, and repeat it. So God can bring you from death, right, as you are living now in your consciousness. After you die, it's very easy for Him to bring you back. So you have scientific evidence that you exist right now because you came from nothing to something. So it's very easy for Him to bring you back, and you're judged on what you laughed at and what you're warned about. Like, don't be a piece of shit. That's literally the message of every religion that is very close to Islam. And what is Islam telling you? Don't be something.
The
that you
notion
shouldn't be.
that petroleum or crude oil comes from dinosaurs is fiction. Oil is formed from the remains of marine plants and animals that lived millions of years before dinosaurs. Dinosaurs have zero to do with oil.
Oh, okay.
Dumb.
So I guess the science that we had earlier changed, so it wasn't the same. Because that's what it was before. People used to say that.
So your
oil came
original
from
point
dinosaurs.
was that God is punishing California with the drought because
calling
they're
themselves
calling
God.
themselves gods, which is dumb.
Correct.
It's very
not dumb.
dumb.
It's
But
not
there
dumb.
are lots of droughts that happen all over the world, and we can predict them with science based on weather patterns and
Okay.
the amount of water in the air, the temperature that causes water to evaporate. And so we can literally measure and predict when and where these are going to happen based on literally nothing to do with what humans believe or say. What they say makes zero difference to climate. It doesn't. Saying you're gay doesn't cause tornadoes or hurricanes. Saying you're God doesn't cause droughts. Those are things in nature. These happen all over the planet. Has nothing to do with what humans
Correct.
say.
So if my whole mentality is to try to make money and to oppress each other, I'm not going to be taking care of the world, and the world's going to answer back with droughts and earthquakes and global warming
Answer
or
back.
whatever we're going through. Yeah, it is, because it's an action and causation.
Yes, global warming causes warming, which then causes droughts.
Because of our own actions. Correct.
Sure.
Okay. What do you mean? Sure. It's yes or no.
Yes.
So
sure
yes.
means yes.
Okay.
Sure is a synonym
Thank
with
you.
yes.
I know. But there is a difference between sure and yes.
Synonym is words that mean exactly the same thing or very similar.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Because there's what I'm trying to explain is that if global warming is caused by us, Islam is teaching you for you not to do things like global warming. If I know for a fact, hold on. If I know,
where does Islam teach no global warming?
I'll tell you before you laugh. Because if I run a business and I know I'm polluting
too late.
the world,
I laughed before you answered.
Okay, cool. Can I carry on without you being a clown?
Of the two of us, I'm not sure I'm the one that's the clown.
No, you're definitely a clown. You think you're the one who judges on what's right and wrong, because there's absolutely nobody better than you in the world that can teach you anything. The only way you learn is by your own self.
Literally not what I said. But if I'm a clown, you are the king of Bozo, the child of King Bozo Clown.
Thank you, but I'll be in heaven when
It's not going to make you not a clown. Being in heaven doesn't make you
not a clown. But I'll be repeating those words. But anyways, back to the point that I was saying. If I'm running a business and I know that I'm polluting the earth, me as a Muslim, my obligation, if I know there's technologies to make it better, I have to make it better. Or at that point, I'm causing.
Where does oil come from? Which country?
Oil?
Yeah. Predominant oil producer. Which country?
Russia.
And there's another one that's bigger than that. Which one's bigger than that?
So you would like to talk about Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia.
Yes, that's a great example.
Okay, yeah. So what about Saudi Arabia?
not a Muslim country that produces oil and pollution.
Brother, we're talking about Islam. I'm not talking about what people's versions of Islam is. I'm not talking about Saudi Arabia, and I'm not
Oh.
talking about what people in Saudi Arabia
There
doing.
only is people's version of Islam. That's it. There's
No,
not like an
no,
actual Islam. It's just people's version. That's all it is.
no. Actually, there is actual Islam, and it's people's interpretation of what the book says. There's the mainstream.
Okay, that's what we want evidence for. We want evidence that there's like an actually true Islam, independent of any people's interpretation. But all you keep saying is well, people have an interpretation that makes their lives better. Therefore,
Okay.
it's more than interpretation.
You yourself, unwillingly and unknowingly, you have already submitted to the laws that are around you. So you, in a sense,
You like gravity?
Yeah.
That's pretty knowingly. I'm knowingly submitted to gravity, but it isn't consensual.
Okay.
I don't consent to gravity.
Exactly.
But what does this have to do with what I just said? So I said,
but I'm telling you, everything is
I'll make an
submitted to
argument
God.
for you, like a premise one.
Brother, you just don't listen. I'm telling you again, everything's submitted to God, even yourself. And that's literally what Islam means.
Okay, but that's again not evidence. So like
that is the evidence. So you sitting on the chair is the evidence
that it's not just an interpretation. You're saying Islam is more than just a subjective interpretation, and your evidence that it's more than a subjective interpretation is that people's subjective interpretation makes their lives better.
No, I'm telling you, submission to God is accepting that those laws that are been put on them are there for a reason, and they have no choice in it. You sitting on the chair and the gravity acting the way it is, it's not you. You have to accept that willingly, or you in how can I say it, like
unwillingly, non-consensually.
Thank you.
So again, the argument here is we need a way to differentiate things made up in people's imagination versus things that are true, independent of people's imagination. And what you keep saying is that people use their imagination to interpret a story, and then their lives get better, which then shows it's not a part of their imagination. Makes zero sense.
People read that if you are patient, you get the rewards of being a patient person. And
how does that show it's not imaginary? How is it not imaginary?
Because go test it. You're impatient, so me and you are not getting to a point where we can discuss because you're just very impatient. But if you show a little patience, then you would literally prove the Quran is right.
How does that show it's not a figment of people's imagination and that Islam is just a book written by a bunch of goat herders thousands of years ago?
Because it's the same message before Quran and after the Quran. Quran just details it in a way that is very easy for an Arabic reader to
How does that show the message isn't made up by a bunch of people and not true, independent of people?
Because that message exists in reality in a way that people are inspired with said message that keeps getting repeated in history from generation to generation, from people that didn't even meet each other.
Yeah, that's how stories work. That's how King Arthur works. Why does the fact that there are stories that people repeat show that they're more than stories that people repeat?
If I said a story to you and someone else across the world said the exact same story, and it's not like a one line, I'm talking about like a whole 400 pages worth. It's
still a story. Data. So if two people saying the same story is still a story. There's stories.
Correct. But if that person is telling you that that's what they witnessed and that's what they were inspired to say, and someone across the world said the exact same thing or the same topic in the same fashion, right? But in their own language with the same conclusions, and those people never met, where'd that story come from other than the natural world that's around them?
Right. So if two people both came up with Harry Potter at the exact same time, it would still be Harry Potter. It would still be a story. So what we want is we need something that didn't occur. It's more than a story.
That didn't occur. But what in Harry Potter that didn't occur. But someone telling you that you gotta watch yourself because you're gonna be judged on what you did. That story happens a lot in history. So that when you do go to hell and someone asks you, hey, didn't someone tell you not to be a piece of shit? You can't say, no, nobody told me. A lot of people told you.
So we need to show it's more than a story. So saying multiple people said stories doesn't show it's more than a story.
Multiple people that had absolutely nothing to do with each other. said the same story, and they all said that it came from an
That's
outside
great.
source.
That's great. So how do we get that they got the story from something more? How is it more than a story? That's the part we're missing. Like,
Look, because again, so if I'm going to take a dog to a park, I'm just going to tell him, let's go to the park. If the dog is going to sit there and try to find out why and how, and he needs proof that I'm going to take him to the park, that's very hard to teach a dog. If God is telling me, who's more intelligent than me, that he's going to revive me and take me to a place, I'm just going to accept that as a fact. Because of the source that is coming to me, it gave me all the other benefits that I need as a human being to deal with all these tribulations that's around me.
I got nothing. I've been through this too many times. Like, there's so many terms. We'd have to start with just the word true, how a valid argument works, what a premise is. Just too much for me to try to like teach you, to get you to be able to make
You
an
can't
argument
teach
here.
me anything. I don't need you to teach me anything.
Well, I mean, I taught
Again,
you that what synonyms mean. I taught you what truth means.
No,
I
I
taught
know
you
what
what valid
synonyms is,
means.
but you were wrong about synonyms, and you can see that point. Yeah, you were, because they're not always exactly the same. They're
I never
similar.
said they were. That was not
Yeah,
what
you
I
did.
said.
Oh,
I
okay.
said
Would you like
they
to repeat
mean the
they were
same.
equal.
Does synonym mean they mean the same thing? Yes.
They
It
don't.
is what
You said
synonym means.
equal.
All right, I'm ready to go to Q&A. This is just, I just can't do anymore.
Good. So yeah, Islam teaches you how to submit to the laws that are around you, whether you accept it or not. That's the truth.
And to cut
We're gonna
people's hands
jump.
off for stealing and
We're gonna
murder
jump.
Yeah,
infidels.
yeah. Because if I cut your hand off, you'll never steal again. Because I don't like it. I don't like it how I feel when you steal my property.
We're gonna jump into the
And
Q&A.
you won't like it if I steal your property. So we could eliminate that temptation by putting a draconian rule, like you touch my stuff and I can catch you with it, I'll cut your hand off.
Yeah,
But
that's
here's
a
the thing.
bad rule. So
But
like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you give me back my property, God is forgiving. So I'll forgive you, and it's okay. Just don't do it again, please. That's how life works.
so we know that that's a bad rule that actually works against society, which is why most societies got rid of that rule, because it's terrible for society, which proves Islam doesn't actually give you rules to better your life or better society.
Let's put it down so that if someone is stealing and you have a fair judge, which America is not a fair judge, anyone who's caught stealing with evidence and his hands cut off, let's see how many people would steal after that.
More people would steal. We know this. We actually have data on this.
No, we don't. We don't.
We
Show
do.
me where
We
that-
literally do. Steven Pinker did an entire segment on this in his book of having
Show me, please.
Steven Pinker, Better Angels of Our Natures. That's the name of the book, where it literally says that when the punishment for the crime exceeds the crime, there's an endorsement to do greater harm. So like, say if the punishment for stealing a candy bar is getting your hand cut off and somebody sees you, well, you could just kill them and then they haven't seen you, and so you're more likely to get away with the crime. And so if having a harsher punishment for a specific crime will actually cause worse crimes, we know this has been verified through data.
So
But I want to
so
go.
there
I want to go
is
to
no
Q&A
study.
because this is just.
But wait. There is no study to show that people. I mean, if a rule is set that if someone is stealing, their hands cut off, that it increases crime.
Yes, there is. We literally have that study. I literally just gave you the study. The book that mentions the study.
Hands when someone's stealing. Okay.
We're gonna jump into this Q&A. Want to say thanks for your
Just because
questions.
it's a man, it's a
We're gonna
study.
try to move
Cool.
fast. Let's see. I think it might be frozen, Mohammed. I don't know if you're able to hear me. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you. Sorry.
This one coming in from Cameron Hall. Want to
Hey.
remind you folks, our guests are linked in the description. That includes that the podcast, Modern Day Debate, has a podcast. I don't know if you knew that, but we put all of our debates on the podcast, and you can find our podcast at fine podcast apps everywhere, such as Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify, of course, and we link our guests, Tom and Mohammed, there as well. This one first, coming in from Cameron Hall, says, my question is, why believe the Quran stories over all other stories in other holy books?
Okay. Oh, the Quran. I believe that question's for me, correct?
Yeah.
No, it's for me. It's definitely for me.
Yeah. I was just making a light joke. Just relax. So what I'm saying is that the Quran stories, there's morals that you can pick up from the stories that help you as an individual to carry on with your life, and you can see the tribulation that went through people that are better than us. But the stories is just a small portion of what the Quran truly is. The Quran is teaching as and ways of understanding why you think the way you do and you act the way you do, so you can learn better self-control, the promise of a better tomorrow.
You got it. This one coming in from Alan Dupree says, Muhammad, what would make you doubt your beliefs?
For me to doubt my beliefs, well, I can ask you a question is what would make you believe in the existence of God? For me to doubt my beliefs is when the fabric of truth around me starts to break.
Novel testable predictions is what would cause me to change my position on anything. I mean, novel testable predictions.
You got it. This one from Bitter Truth says, Muhammad, why every single organism why is every single organism genetically close to each other? Some of the DNA 70%, some of it even as close as 90%, plus even trees included in that. Don't you think there's a common ancestor?
Yes. Actually, if you look at what they call the Mohammedian theory of evolution, evolution is something that is persistent, and it's a topic that is in mainstream Islam. We do believe in evolution.
You got it. And thank you very much for this question. Ozzy Talks says, Stoicism teaches you how to handle yourself. How does that make Islam more true than Stoicism? Stoicism just requires belief in the universe and change. So are you familiar with Stoicism, kind of this philosophy of
Yes.
relation? Okay, go ahead.
So just like how Stoicism teaches you to go out of your comfort zone to be a better human being and to handle the world around you, if I'm correct in that assumption, it's the same teachings in Islam. So a lot of things that aren't in different regions of the world, like you could take the Sikh religion in India, for example, or Buddhism, things that are very prevalent in their religion, you will find them in Islam as well. Yeah, like for example, fasting Ramadan, we fast 12 like from sunrise to sunset without food, water, which is very equivalent to what stoics would do. But our picture is a little bigger, that we attribute it to God rather than just the universe.
You got it. This one from Marty, the mad scientist, says, for each guest, Tom and Muhammad, why did God or nature design or evolve human males with such uncomfortable and exposed genitalia?
Random chance through evolution.
I'll pass on that question.
You've got it. This one coming in from Bitter Truth says, Muhammad, did you or science find Adam and Eve, who was thrown from heaven because sin also... Did you or science find Adam and Eve who were thrown from heaven because sin also hadiths? I think they're saying hadiths talk about humans are about 7,000 years old on this planet. Wrong.
What?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard for me to understand, but I think that they're saying, do you believe that Adam and Eve were the first humans and that humans have only been around for 7,000 years? Again,
so,
science says otherwise.
Right. So Adam and Eve are like that when the Homo sapien had that spark of intelligence, you could say that first two beings were Adam and Eve. And yes, they did come from heaven, but because the earth existed when Adam was created.
Gotcha. And this one coming in from, do appreciate your question, Guy with the Hair says, when Muhammad first talked about how #honesty gets you further in life, I was going to send a super chat pointing out how Donald Trump exists, but TJump did it for me. #debunked.
Send the super chat to me instead.
Bitter Truth says, Muhammad shows us human respect and humanity in Islam. Toba verse says, take jizya or fight with until they accept Islam. Please don't be personal with TJump. I don't know what they mean by being personal, but they say Muhammad.
We did have that conversation, didn't we, before? So I don't know about getting personal with Tom. I don't think he likes me.
I can assure you, Muhammad has no interest in getting personal with Tom. But it says Muhammad show us human respect and humanity in Islam. says, what about when they say, what about the verse that says, take the jizya, which, if I remember right, that's something roughly equivalent to a tax, or fight with those who don't believe in Islam until they accept Islam.
Okay, so the word was jihad, like jahid fi sabilillah, or jihad. Yeah. So what you want to do is strive into having people come into the system of God, or trying to make the world a better place. That doesn't necessarily mean fighting by hand or by sword. There's a lot of ways of fighting. And just like me and Tom right now, we're in a quick fight.
You got it. Guy with Ozzy and Talk says, I taught my children and they learned lessons from me, but I am not God. Just because you learned from me right now doesn't make me God either. Ozianism. That's I'll give you a chance to respond to Ozian.
Okay, so Ozzy, there is a concept of Islam which is similar to what hive mind is. So since there is a creator that is holding everybody and everything, and he has a system, we want to be part of that system. So there's verses in the Quran when during a war, for example, and they were firing the arrows, God said that you're not the ones who fired the arrows. I was the one who fired the arrows. So it's not me feeding the homeless person who needs help. It's God helping him through me. So I want to be an instrument for God. So that's why you're just teaching me little things. What God's teaching me is everything that I need. And God is teaching me through you sometimes.
This one from, by the way, Ozian, for your very first question of the night, let me know. I missed that one. I'm really sorry about that. So do please let me know in chat what it was. It was the one that you sent as a member chat. Bitter Truth says, science based upon observation and experiments. However, Muhammad, what about Islam? How do you judge if your Allah or prophet is correct or true? And they're saying, by contrast, science uses observation and experiments, but what do you use?
Okay, so the word Allah literally translates to the God. So proving that the God exists is that, for me, it goes back to intelligent design. As for Prophet Muhammad, he had an upkeep of 6 to 7 different homes, feeding everybody in those homes. He was a general in the army. He was a colonel in the army. He was a statesman. He was teaching people about religion. He was a tradesman person. He would stand 4 to 5 hours at night praying. He would establish prayer. He was a clergy in his mosque. So he accomplished a lot in his life in a very short time. So I want his mentality so I could work as hard as he did.
This one from Zagros Ozcan says, how does Muhammad explain his prophet's PDF file relations with Aisha and wife striking or beating in 434 Surah, I think they're saying? These alone are enough to debunk your allegedly all-loving God, Muhammad.
Muhammad is not God. A. B. That surah has nothing to do with Aisha. In C, I believe Daniel from Muslim Skeptic has a very good video on why certain verses are in a religion in to do with how women are subjugated to the laws of everyone, like everyone else.
This one coming in from Ozzy and Talk says, knowledge is only possible with Allah. Knowledge exists, therefore Allah exists. And then says, did I help the Muslim? It's unsound, but it's an argument for Allah.
It's true.
Well, again, God means, yeah, well, both me and Tom have absolutely no power nor knowledge except what's revealed to us and what is given to us. And whatever the source of knowledge and whatever the source of power, that comes from God, whether he likes to admit it or not. But there is a day he's going to see it. So it's too late at that point.
Well, I think the point there was to give you an example of a valid argument so you can try to improve for future debates.
Oh, but it's not about improving about future debates when the person in front of me is just saying no.
This one from Ozzy and Talk says, actually, this one, we got that one. Elusive Viper says, if following Satanism causes a person to live a better life than a Muslim, is Satanism true?
Well, as someone who's following Satanism is going to order you on to do immoralities, to say things about God that is not true, and he's going to order you to do things that are obscene, that is not acceptable by the society. If the whole society is doing that, then it's a different story. That's not a society that's for God, as we see nowadays.
You got it. Thanks very much for your question. This one coming in from Squid Super Hunk says, just supporting the Modern Day Debate channel. this one was over before it started. Muhammad, let's see, they say Tommy J with the win. You had a fan out there, TJump. And
Please give me
also said,
money.
also, this one is just for James sitting over there looking swole. Great work, James. Thanks for your kind words. It's very embarrassing. Like I said, this one from Anton Gomez says, Dear, but thanks for your support of the channel, Squid Super Hunk. And this one from Anton Gomez saying, Dear Muhammad, Salman Rushdie got stabbed by a Muslim in New York. And they said, I'm very sad to hear that. Peace be upon you. I don't know if it's a fellow Muslim or is that true that Salman Rushdie was I thought I wasn't sure.
He was stabbed. He was attacked on stage in one of his lectures because of the jihad that was sent against him by, forgot his name. So do you condone the attack on Salman Rushdie, essentially?
Do I do what?
Condone, approve?
I don't speak on behalf of every Muslim around the world.
Yeah, do you approve?
Personally,
Yes.
it's not my action, so I'm not responsible for it. Why would I have to condone it? Do you condone it?
No,
do you condone the
no, I
attack
think
that
it's
happened in
horrible. I
Iraq?
think that
No, you as an American, do you condone all the people that died in Iraq?
No, I don't
for no
condone any of them. I think that it was a bad war. So I think that
Okay.
that interpretation was bad. So could you say that
Okay.
that interpretation of that guy is bad?
I'm not responsible for what happened to that guy because of his own actions.
So that's not the question. The question is, do you think what he did was the correct interpretation of Islam? And therefore,
Who, the man?
Yeah, the guy who stabbed Salman Rushdie.
Again, that's his interpretation. It's not for me to judge whether it was true or not. If it was untrue, then he's going to take the consequences of it being bad. And if it was something that he did for the greater good, then he's going to take the benefit of that. It's not for me to judge. But is it something that we should be doing? That's not the way we should be handling things.
This one from Bitter Truth says, Quran says sunset in murky water. Hadith confirmed prostate underneath of God. Ask permission to rise Muhammad. Prove this. This one's hard for me. They said, Quran says sunset in murky water. It's the word Hadis. I don't know if they mean to say hadiths or is that a word in, I've never heard of
Say
this.
it again, sorry.
It's Hadis, hadiths.
No, I think he's talking about hadith again. Yeah, hadith.
Okay. They say Quran
Great.
says the sunset in murky water in the hadiths. Confirmed prostate underneath of God. Ask permission to rise Muhammad. Prove that this happened. I think maybe that's what they're saying is they're saying the Quran says the sunset in murky water.
Okay, so first of all, James, your Arabic is improving.
Thank you.
Very good. Like how much Arabic you're learning through these things, but I've no words for that man. I know he's trying to disprove Quran that's saying that the visual image of a sun setting into when it was setting in the water the way it looked and the way God described it to Muhammad, that doesn't disprove Quran any less than what that person's trying to show.
This one from Samir Varsain says premise, nothing comes from nothing. Until TJump can prove that it can, then someone created something, therefore our God. Burden of disproof is now on you, TJump.
No one thinks that something came from nothing. We just think there is a necessary thing, which is a quantum field that exists outside of space and time. So you don't need a God for that.
That's a very weird way of calling God God, but sure. That's how you
it's no
explain it.
consciousness, so no mind. So no, it's not.
It's necessary, so.
Yeah, it's necessary, but doesn't have consciousness.
Right, it doesn't have human consciousness.
Doesn't have any consciousness. It's a field.
You can't tell that. How do you know that?
Because that's the model. Quantum fields don't have consciousness. They're quantum fields.
So you literally describe God with a lot of words, but go ahead.
No, they don't have consciousness. And they're
someone created something. Well, that's what people are calling God, I guess. And is it infinite in your
Yes,
your
it is infinite and doesn't have a mind.
Okay, and it's created what's around you, correct?
Yes, and doesn't have a mind.
So it's creating everything in random. Is that true? Or how's it?
Quantum fluctuations?
Okay, so
no mind. No mind.
So but no purpose either.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to be an atheist, and I have no purpose.
Right, because there is no evidence of objective purpose.
Okay, so everything around you has a purpose, like the microphone, the glasses that you're wearing, the reason that
Humans
you're sitting,
can
and the
make
trees that are
purposes.
outside for you. Okay, so the trees that are outside is not for a purpose; it's just there, random.
Right, for evolution.
Okay, so for evolution has no purpose. It's not trying to get to an end point, whatever
Right,
that
it's
end
just
point
it's
is.
just random. Evolution doesn't have an endpoint.
Evolution does not have an end point to the fact that me and you are speaking right now.
Right, it's not.
There's
There's
no
no goal.
purpose to
No
that.
goal, no purpose.
No goal, no purpose. What a shitty way to live. I'm sorry.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Bitter Truth says, Aisha and Muhammad had intercourse when I was 9. I hadn't reached puberty. And then says Sahih al-Bukhari, book Muhammad. Please explain why your prophet had intercourse with Aisha at 9 years old.
I don't. It's not something that how can I say this nicely to you? So Muhammad, whatever he did with his wives, that's not something that I like to read about or look into. People say a lot of things. Some people that he had sexual relationships with Aisha when she was 18. Some people said that she was 9. Some people said that 16. History wrote whatever history wrote, but the truth is truth. That's something I'm going to find out later. Muhammad did a lot of benefits for the world, and Aisha did a lot of benefits for the world. You and your question will never compare to. So that's why I will not discredit Prophet Muhammad based on your dumb question.
Also, want to remind you folks, I had not mentioned it earlier. I tried to mention earlier in the stream. If you enjoy debates and you have a friend who enjoys debates, highly encourage you, click share and share this debate with them, as we want to give everybody a fair shot, whether they be Muslim, Christian, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. I don't think we've ever had a Mormon on. No joke. Isn't that crazy? But we would love to have, if you are a Mormon, if you'd like to come on, the door is completely open to you, as well as Jehovah's Witnesses, you name it. We are striving to provide a neutral platform, and so help us expand on YouTube by sharing this debate with others. And this next question coming in from, do appreciate it, Bitter Truth says, Muhammad, there is evolution, which you Muslims reject, but can you show us your Islamic creation model? How were we humans and the universe created?
As I said, that evolution is something that is acceptable in mainstream Islam. There's some schools that differ against it, but there is schools that do teach that evolution is something that occurred and that Adam and Eve came after evolution was done. So actually with evolution, it kind of proves that Adam and Eve their children didn't go through any incest, because the species was already existent, but they didn't have that intelligence and the spark that Adam and Eve would have, so that their children would have sexual relationships with something that looked like a human, but it didn't have that spark of humanity inside it yet.
You got it. And thank you very much for this question. Coming in from Franco Trujillo says, if Islam is true, why did my dad leave me? Okay, I think that's a troll.
Well, actually, it's just because your dad wasn't accepting to the fact or submitted to the fact that he needed to be a good father.
This one coming in from Bitter Truth says, in the Quran, we humans were created from a blood clot. In some verses, repeatedly saying, also telling us before humans, jinn or demons lived on the earth. Can you prove this, Muhammad?
Demons are causing the emotions. Now, people cannot explain very easily.
You got it. And this one coming in from, do appreciate your question, Samir Farsain says, TJump's strategy is to diminish anything you say. I showed him a scientific article titled, quote, Scientists Baffled by X. He replied, it's absolutely normal. Tom, I think he's skeptical of your approach.
Science are baffled by a lot of things. That's not evidence of anything. Scientific articles are not evidence. They're just opinion pieces, like the kind of article he's talking about, like a Scientific America article. It's not like a academic published papers.
Tom, I have a question. What do you think about Islamic scientists?
Well, scientists are anybody who does like novel testable predictions. I don't know of any like Islam takes up 2% of Nobel Prizes, so they exist. There's just very
That's
few
not
of
a
them.
way. So Nobel Prizes is how you dictate if someone's a good scientist. Nobel
Well,
Prizes is something
yes,
that's
Nobel
outside of the middle.
Prizes is definitely one
Okay,
of the ways to establish whether someone's a
right,
good
right.
scientist. They make a
Or
big
maybe it was a
impact.
selective process that has nothing to do with people in the Middle East. And I'm sorry, Nobel Prizes didn't
What?
exist when the big scientists of the Islamic nations were around. So like Khwarizmi, you know.
Well, yeah, there were definitely Islamic scientists. Most of the stars are named by Islamic scientists from back then. I thought you meant modern day ones,
But
but yes, there were
why would
scientists
those scientists believe in God or Quran if they're so critical? But of course, you're smarter than them.
because lots of people used to believe in God, and we have new evidence that indicates not God that doesn't exist before.
Brother, the evidence didn't show about God existing. Now, can you?
What?
Science is hindsight. So you need it to be in front of you to test it. God has not revealed Himself in a way for Him to be tested. So people always believed Him. Sorry, I'll end it there.
People used to think God was required to do things like natural selection, like the diversity of species. And then we discover that no, you don't need God for that. There are natural processes. And now pretty much everything we think natural processes is a better explanation for. And that's what the evidence indicates.
But that's not what Muslim scientists preached. Muslim scientists said that Muslim science is going off the fact that we're reverse engineering the truth in front of us so we could understand why things happen. So
What?
I mean, how things happen. Science is a how question to us. It's not why in Islam, because God said that He created the land and the earth in truth. So how do we deduce this truth? Is from the science.
Truth is a how question, not a why question.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So truth is we're understanding the how through science. The why is God. That's the difference. So we
There
do
is no
accept science.
why.
There is a why.
There's no why.
There is a why.
No why.
That's the difference between you and me. There is a why.
Yeah. My beliefs are based on evidence. Yours are based on making stuff up. Yes.
No. My evidence is based on how my life is progressing. It's not making things up.
It's called making. That's literally making stuff up.
No, it's
This
not
one
making things
from
up.
Squid Superhunk says, could each person try their best to steelman the other person's position?
His argument is
Yeah.
that doing actions which improve your life are indicative of the truth of the whatever methodology you're using. It's just false.
His argument is that he's correct because TJump said it.
This one coming in from Franco Trujillo says, does Allah submit to the laws of logic? Thanks for doing your thing, James. Thank you, Franco.
Thank you, James. Yeah, I also want to thank you. But no, God is not subjected to the natural law that He created. He's above that natural law, whatever. But yes, God does adhere to things that He did write on Himself that He would not break, and that's why He's a God.
This one from Samir Farsain says, TJump, what percentage of your body transactions do you control? For example, cells dividing, your heart beating, neurons
Zero.
firing, antibodies
Zero.
being produced. Not even 1/100000th of a percent.
It's zero.
Yet, ... That's all they say.
Okay.
I think it's maybe trying to kind of like implicitly argue for a designer that designed your body, but that's my best guess. I don't know.
The fact that you don't control things doesn't mean somebody else does.
This one from Edward J. Peters says, Muhammad, what is the punishment for apostasy?
There is two schools on thought of that. There is the way that Sunniism teaches that those people are put to death, but the Quran is saying that a person who turns away from religion, there is no compulsion in religion. You let them live their life because God's going to deal with them. As you can see, there's a lot of apostates in this world, and they're dealt with accordingly, and not with death. I mean, just do what you're doing.
You got it. This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Samir Farsain strikes again, says, TJump says quantum's a theory. Don't use theory as truth.
Theory in science means a well-confirmed hypothesis. Theory is truth. the theory of gravity, the germ theory of disease, the atomic theory of matter. Theory is truth. Theory in science doesn't mean just it's an option. It means it's something that's been confirmed.
Theory is truth.
This one from Bitter Truth says, show us where the Quran or Hadiths talk about evolution, Muhammad.
Travel in the land and observe how God began creation, and he will produce the final image. God is capable of all things.
You got it,
Uh,
Anthony.
Sorry, yeah. There's more verses, but that's fine. I think that's good enough.
You got it. This one coming in from Franco True Hello says, for TJump, aren't you mad at your mother because your mother held you without your consent? Because according to your logic, holding a baby is immoral.
Holding someone without their consent is immoral. It's pretty obvious. Muslims just don't understand basic morality.
Okay, so if I smoke a cigarette, do I need your consent?
Doing something to somebody else without their consent.
No. I'm asking you. Do if I smoke a cigarette, do I
it's
need your consent?
body. You only need to get consent when infecting somebody else's body.
So if I'm smoking a cigarette and you end up with having cancer because of my cigarette, I don't need your consent for that, right? Me affecting you with my own action.
That's something you would need consent. Secondhand smoke is something you need consent for.
Okay, so I need your consent for me to smoke. Got it.
Right. If you're doing it in a public place that isn't your property.
So you did change your perspective because you can't decide what's consentable and not.
No. If you're in a public space that isn't your property, you need consent to smoke. If you're in your house that's not somebody else's property, you don't need consent to smoke.
So if I'm in a public spot right next to you, I need your consent to have a cigarette when the law allows me, right?
Well, if the law allows you and it's a public space, then we've both consented to the rules of the public space. That's why public space means. So if you're in my house, you need my consent. If I'm in your house,
no, we're in public. Not your rules, not your laws.
In public means there's already an agreed upon set of rules.
Consent. So I don't need your consent to give you consent.
If we're in public, you already have my consent because we're in public together.
So I have your consent to give you cancer in
public.
But, hey, by the way, Islam already covers this issue by saying don't smoke. It's not good for you.
Literally irrelevant to the topic.
No, it's exactly what Islam is.
Pipe and smoke it. There's the next one. The legend Rib says, did you know that religion's history is our ancestral tribes passing on the stories of events they saw from about 300,000 years ago? Do you too do historical cross-examination? If not, you're slacking.
Of what? Historical cross-examination requires examining multiple things in history. What am I supposed to cross-examine?
Muhammad?
Well, the thing is, the story of history is something we see all the time. People say history repeats, and that history is summarized quickly in the Quran of history of humanity and the history of every civilization that came to Earth. So we know what to expect.
You got it. And then the legend Ribs, I think what they meant in terms of when you asked what should I cross-examine, Tom, I think they're saying you should cross-examine. I think they're saying each of those ancient stories, like you should cross-examine them.
To what? Themselves?
Compare them and contrast them, I think they're saying.
Sure. It's not what cross-exam means, but yeah.
They're saying, did you know that religion's history is our ancestral tribes passing on the stories of events they saw from about 300,000 years ago? And they're saying, like, are you checking to see that these stories allegedly that are there from 300,000 years ago are...
No humans existed 300,000 years ago. First problem. The oldest humans could be as 200,000 years. So that's not true. Stories weren't even invented until about the 50,000 year range. So it'd only be about 50,000 years max for the stories. And yes, and the stories generate from many different time periods, like Jesus, that was 2,000 years ago, not 300,000 years ago. So the stories are generated from all kinds of time, but yes, we're emulating stories from the past. Sure.
This one from Samir Farsane. Oh, we got that one. This one from The Legend Riv strikes again, says atheists have to prove that no religion, in parentheses, moral principles, is justified, and that I'm nature. Humans without principles can sustain themselves to the same degree without a moral teacher.
Well, you are nature. You literally exist of matter, your nature, but I'm a moral realist, so I believe there is objective morality. Religion's morality is just dumb.
You know, there's
This
godless
one-
religions, right?
Yes, like Buddhism.
Yes. So religion is just a set of laws that you put on yourself so that you lead a healthy life.
No.
That's what religion literally means.
No, it doesn't.
I screwed that one up. I do want to, let me just, they sent me a correction, and sorry about that, Legend Rivs. They said atheists have to prove that no religion is justified and that in nature, humans without principles can sustain themselves to the same degree without a moral teacher.
Well, humans who are atheists have principles. They just don't come from religion. That's why secular societies do better in pretty much every respect than religious societies. But you're right that we have to prove that no religious system is justified, because if they had evidence, then they would be justified and atheism would be wrong. So just to do that, you just need to present evidence, because we've debunked all the evidence every religion has ever presented. You just need to provide evidence that actually worked.
You got it.
So 1 second. Sorry, James. Can I actually? Yeah. So how did you debunk that everything has submitted to that quantum theory that you were talking about earlier? Like it's you remember that infinite quantum theory, whatever you said that I said it's God. How are you rejecting the fact that everything is under the dictations of whatever that entity you said? How can something go outside of that quantum field, whatever way of you explained it? I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. If that entity is the thing that created what we're in right now for no purpose, can something go outside of that control?
I have no idea what any of that means. There is a fundamental nature of reality, and everything that exists is bound to the fundamental nature of reality. It's a quantum field. It's not a god, and you don't need to disprove all religions. There's actually evidence for quantum fields, unlike religions.
Okay, but then anyways, we can carry on. But I think you have a problem with defining what God is. So how are you looking for God if you cannot define God?
Non-physical mind that created everything else.
That's not the definition of God, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, how do you define God?
God for me is an absolute control. He's in the past. He's in the present. He's something that's infinite. He's something that's infinite. He knows where everything is about to go. He has a database of every object, every element, and every thought, and everything that's about to come, and everything that happened. He's a fair judge. So when someone's working hard, he gets the reward of whatever work he worked towards. God, at the same time, he's hearing from your own eyes and from your own ears, and he's judging of what you're understanding. And when you're hurting other people, he's the one who's
Is it a mind?
Do you have a mind?
Yes. Is God
so
a
whatever
mind?
gave you a mind understands the concept of mind, so he has a mind.
Okay. Did he create everything else other than himself?
Yes.
Is he non-physical?
No, he has an aspect of physicality to
No,
it.
is he like purely made of matter?
Natural. Yes.
Okay, so other than that one, he's a mind who created everything else. So I got 2 out of the 3 on that one. I don't know why you think he's physical, but okay, we'll grant that one.
He's physical. Just hey. Okay, so there's stars that are very far away that we can't physically see them.
Sure.
Right. So just because you can't see God, let's just presume that he's so very far away that we can't see him. And then when he does come, you will see him. Well, hey, your
really
eyes.
Far away.
No, look,
sounds like Mormonism.
Look. No, I'm not saying it's Mormonism. I'm saying God has a physical body that we cannot see at this point, but he is in the physical realm as well.
Because he's really far away.
I'm giving you an example, just an apologist example, but go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
No worries. Lath says the moon loves the sun because it shares its light. There would be no day without the fullness of night. You may not see it beyond our sight.
Beautiful.
Franco Trujillo says, Brother Muhammad, where are you at? Turn on the lights. I think that they're referencing your dramatic and impressive lighting. And Samir Farsain says Muslim doctors, husband and wife, developed first COVID vaccine. Take that, TJump, you soy boy. I added the last part.
Muslims have invented lots of things. That doesn't mean it's true. There are also lots of Chinese and Hindu scientists, and Jews are actually the scientists that make the most progress because they have a quarter of all Nobel Prizes. Jews, Jew.
Jews, right?
Jews. Yeah, they have a quarter of all Nobel Prizes, and they make up 0.2% of the population.
From an Abrahamic religion who understand the concept of submitting to a highest power, and that highest power is controlling everything, and this is why they are blessed the way they are when they stay on track.
No.
Oh no.
So again, as I said, the number of people doesn't indicate they're right. The fact there's lots of them.
It's not about the right. It's about the reward they're getting for their beliefs and the way of living. Again, religion is a way of life, brother.
No.
Actually, sorry. I mean, we can't be brothers, but yeah, religion is a way of life.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Samir Farsain strikes again. He's after you, Tom. He says, you believe in Euclid for prime numbers, yet not in God, who told you the universe is expanding 1,350 years before the Hubble telescope. Muhammad needs his Nobel Prize.
He didn't say the universe is expanding, so that's false.
Secondly, God is the expanding everything.
That's great. It doesn't say the universe is expanding, so it's not correct.
Expanding everything.
It does not say the universe is expanding.
Okay, so you want it to say literally the universe is expanding. It's not a book of guidance. You want it to be like
non-metaphorical. Okay, cool. If it's a non-metaphor, that would be great. So if you give me some numbers like the age of the earth, Hinduism does that. You guys can't though.
All right.
This one, by the way, folks, we're at 126 likes. We're only 24 likes away from 150 likes, at which point Tom will remove his shirt. So please do hit like if you want to see that. Oh, maybe. We'll ask him to. But
I must be paid monies. Give me monies and I will do it. Not James. Me. I need monies. James does not need monies. James has a $50,000 gift card from Subway. I need the money.
It boosts us in the algorithm if you do hit that like, so it's one way of helping us expand our neutral platform. And that the Legend Rib says, look up Remembering the End of the World on YouTube for the historical cross-examination on religion. You guys familiar with this?
Nope. No. Sounds like a documentary.
You got it. And this one coming in from Darth Revan says, I learned how to respect my enemy from Dragon Ball Z. Does that make Dragon Ball Z true, Muhammad? Because it taught me how not to kick a person's head off when I'm mad.
Okay, so there's any concepts of truth that you find anywhere in the world that someone did deduce from the natural world around them is applicable no matter what. But what Islam teaches you is the full package. So not just kicking somebody's head, is that if someone does kick your head, is on how to react to that. It's better to forgive them, like, how Jesus said, turn the cheek. But in Islam, we turn the cheek, and if you hit me again, I'm going to hit you once, because at that point it's fair. So the little truth and the things that does help in your life, that you see it in a lot of things, because the truth does prevail in the world. It's all packaged nicely for you in an amazing 600-page book called the Quran.
This one from the Legend Riv says, Homo habilis were the first humans. You are dead wrong, Tom Jump.
Ooh.
Homo habilis weren't humans, but
were the first humans.
I don't know. Homo habilis weren't humans. No, that is incorrect.
This one coming in from Ben Sorofman. And this is our last standard question for the night. And then I actually have to get to sleep because it's actually unusually late for our debate. But this is for both. They said, if you were able to experience your, quote, perfect world, and in it you felt suffering and emptiness, the kind that you can't just turn off, Tom, would that make it imperfect?
Yes. I mean, literally part of the perfection is the ability to just have no violations of your consent. And so if your consent is being violated by experiencing suffering you can't turn off, that would literally be a violation of your consent and make it non-perfect.
Any thoughts, Muhammad?
Well, he described heaven except with the internal heaven. To me, I believe that there's going to be a time that this system where the bad things in life and the good things in life are mixed. That's going to be like the good things are going to be put to one side and the bad things are going to be put to the other side. And I'd like to be on the good side. So I'd be experiencing that heaven he was talking about without the pain and emptiness, because that's going to be on the bad side.
You got it. And with that, we have hit 150 likes, although some people said they were hitting like for the purpose of Tom keeping his shirt on. So we're kind of at a deadlock. We're at a stalemate. I mean, Tom will take half of his shirt off. How about that? But want to say, well, Samir, he's coming after you, Tom. He says, we have created the heavens and surely we are expanding them, quote unquote. They're saying that's what you're saying, Tom. They say that's your proof from the. Oh wait,
That's the proof in your Quran.
That's the claim that the Quran is making the evidence that the universe is expanding or something.
Right.
Correct. They're saying that that's what the Quran says, namely, quote, we have created the heavens and surely we're expanding them. They're saying that's your proof from the Quran, TJ. Look it up.
In the Quran, the heavens and the
visualize
earth
that
are
as
separate.
well.
They're separate things. And so the earthly realm of the universe is not what it's talking about when it's talking about the heavens. Secondly, saying things are expanding isn't saying the universe is expanding. It just says things are expanding.
No,
They actually
the
say
word
universe.
heavens, that word's heavens is actually translatable to skies. So God's saying the skies is expanding.
That's
So
one
it's
of
not
the
the word
8
heaven.
different interpretations. So no, that's not it.
So,
It's called an
no, no,
ambiguity
it's
fallacy.
samawat. It's samawat, which means
Ambiguity
skies.
fallacy.
All right. Okay. So when God said every living creature came from water, that's also like 1400 years ago. That's a very far-fetched theory that is very true in our day and age, that everything living came
Which
from
everyone
water.
already knew at the time.
No, in 1400 years ago, that's not true.
Yeah, it is, because we were all made of water. But literally, if you push someone, they're made of
No,
water.
no, no.
You stab
Everything
them,
was
water comes
created
out.
from water, not in like
Because we're
not
made of
everything.
water. Yes, obviously. That's everyone already
No,
knew
no.
that.
It's
That, was,
saying
that
things
predates
came
the Quran.
from water.
Yes,
Not they're
that
made up of
predates
water.
the
They
Quran.
came.
Because we're
things
made of
evolved from
water and
water?
we're squishy like water is, people in Greece concluded we're all made of water. All living things are made of water. We already knew that. Or people
God
already
is saying
thought
that we came from water.
Yes.
Not we're made.
Yes.
From,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my God.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because we're squishy, people at the time thought all life was made from water because there's water in all life.
But it's a different theory and a different claim if someone said you came out of water, not made up of water.
So the evidence of the theory, how they came to the conclusion that all life came from water, is they looked at all things that were living and saw water in them. So that's the evidence, not the hypothesis. The evidence is things are all squishy like water is. The hypothesis is all things came from water. All living things came from water.
Yeah, let's. Can you send me that study so I can read it, please?
That things are squishy. The squishy. I'll send you the
No.
squishy
You're
study.
not that squishy study. You're saying things. You're making a claim that the Greeks were saying that everything came or evolved out of water,
Yes.
and that's how you're saying that a prophet sitting in the desert that had no idea what the Greeks said the exact same thing at a different time, and he also came down with all this wisdom that's
Yes.
helping millions of people.
Nothing is original in the Quran. It comes from other sources. He steals it from other sources. Yes.
Oh, so he went read and talked to all these people that taught him the exact same thing, the truth from all these other sources.
Yeah, things
like it
people
can't be
already
inspired
knew.
from him.
Yes.
Okay, so
things
he
people
knew what the
already
Greeks
knew.
said when he was in the middle of the desert by himself. Got it. Makes
No.
sense.
What
He
the
went
Greek
talk to the
said was
Greeks, right?
common knowledge. So like when he says there's a divide between the waters, that's something that people could literally see. There's no light on the bottom of the ocean, something people could literally see. Bees
People
eat
could
fruit.
literally see the bottom. People could literally see the bottom of the ocean.
They can see when people swim, when you go down,
Oh,
it gets
right.
less light. And so what's the bottom? It's dark. Basic logic, logic
right.
facts.
Let's
Kids
go take a
know
look.
this.
Oh, right. You're so funny, man.
Well, that wasn't meant to be funny, but I'll take it.
No,
This one
because
coming in from, do appreciate your question. Last minute, snuck it in. F Face Jerry says, shirt off, please. And Franco Trujillo says, if Allah is omniscient, does he know what it's like to marry a 9-year-old? Can God have knowledge of, well,
It's all good, James.
Depending on, I'll just let you answer it.
No, I'm saying it's all good, James. Like, well, it's a insult towards the prophet again, because that's where people, if someone does 9 good things to the world and he does 1 bad thing, and I'm not saying that the prophet did a bad thing, but people always like to look at the negative things that they find, but they forget the positive things that a person found. So in a negative world, you deserve someone like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You got it. And want to say thank you very much, folks, for your questions. Both of our guests are linked in the description. That includes the podcast. Our podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other single app out there for podcasts. And if you're listening to this right now, you can find both TJump and Muhammad's links in the description. If you would like to hear more, you certainly can by clicking on those links right now. Want to say thanks so much for your questions, folks. Thanks so much for your support via all of the likes and shares, all those good things, as well as, most importantly, thanks to our guests for being with us tonight, TJump and Muhammad. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
God bless you, James.
I will be back in just a moment, folks. So stick around, as I'm going to let you know about upcoming juicy debates that you don't want to miss. For example, at the bottom right of your screen, Apostate Prophet returns this Friday to debate Muslim apologist on whether or not Islam is harmful to the world. It's going to be juicy. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss it, as well as many other future debates that are going to come from this channel, Modern Day Debate. So with that, stick around and I'll be right back to tell you about more upcoming debates.